to CJC Adventures. Carl here, and today I'm in Netherton in the Black Country town of Dudley in the good old West Midlands, England. And I've come to a place, a small place, but it's steeped in industrial history. I'm here at Mushroom Green. Now, Mushroom Green is known for chain making. And back in the day, when all the industry was still around, I say that chain making, because it's still known for that particular trade, as it has been since at least the 1800s. And it's the home to a chain making shop that is still in its original grounds ever since it was built back in the 1800s. And it's the only one of the chain making shops to still be in its original grounds, and that covers Europe. Nowhere else in the whole of Great Britain and Europe can claim that they've still got a chain making shop still in its original grounds, except for here at Mushroom Green. We're going to see it, and we're going to see other things, take a look around and look at what's is still left from the Industrial Revolution of this part of the Black Country. So let's go and see what we can see. Well, this is the entrance to Mushroom Green, and as you can see, you'd be forgiven to say that you weren't somewhere down south, because these cottages here are absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at those, they're absolutely gorgeous. And there's a lot of industry around here, of course, with chain making, and originally I think it was nail making, and they went on to chain making over time. So yeah, change their ideas. These are actually the forge cottages, and as you can see a man there on the sign. He's working away, making his chains. Really like that logo. Proper Black Country, proper industry. I mean, just looking here, I mean, you can see the actual oldness and the ages of the buildings. They're very aged and old, and look very industrial, don't they? Like they've seen quite a lot of an industrial heritage over the years, and that's obviously a nice thing to see and to be very proud of if you're from the Black Country. You see this old building here. It stood the test of time, hasn't it, really, by the looks of it, and obviously I've seen a lot of people come around this area and do their work every day and earn the money. And you've got the old lamp there. Well, it was a common sight, wasn't it, especially around these parts and along canals at one time. The gas lamp, that's probably like a bit more of a modern lamp, but still seen sometimes, hasn't it? I'm really surprised how preserved this is around these parts. I mean, it's very tucked away. It's like going back in time just to see it and see, you know, the actual way it's all shaped and put together. And it is a really quiet, lovely place. You wouldn't even know it was here if it wasn't signposted, really. It's just, you know, a gorgeous place. I mean, look at the, you know, the ageness of the old buildings. I mean, I love that, I really do. I mean, it is nice to know that places like this do still exist, and they still exist for you to see, and they've been well preserved, well looked after, and a lot of people, you know, change things for the worse, don't they, over time. But around these parts, I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just as it was when it was originally here. So wonderful. I mean, it's just breathtaking, really is. You know, it's so put together well and left the way it was. And we've now come to the Mushroom Green chain shop, still in its original position. And it makes you proud, doesn't it, to think that this is the only one still in its original position since at least the 1800s. And everyone in Europe, you know, they've packed up and or they've moved on or moved somewhere else, but this is still here. And it is still a working chain shop. It's open around once a month or sometimes twice a month, depending on what they actually want to go on and, well, sort of, they do events, I imagine, like most places would do events. And, you know, it's lovely. It's lovely to see. It's a real Hamlet, isn't it, here in Mushroom Green. And it does say there, Mushroom Green Chain Shop, curated by Luke and Natalie Perry. This mid-19th century chain shop is open to visitors on the second Sunday in each month, from April to October, from 2 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. During these afternoons, visitors are able to see chain making being made, or made by hand. You can see, you know, I mean, this was a real Hamlet for chain making. I mean, look how beautiful those industrial looking doors, and you got the window, little upstairs there, I imagine, for keeping stock and so on. A really beautiful preserved building. I mean, this has really stood the test of time, hasn't it? You know, if you look at the windows, and they could be original, you know, and they've done a nice little job on it, keeping it well preserved and keeping it together for people to see chain making. And the chimneys, you know, you'd have the smoke coming out of those, bellowing out because of the of what they're making in there, obviously the chains and so on. And a nice plaque here, in fond memory of Ron Moss, 1930 to 2019, whose vision and endeavour ensured the preservation of Mushroom Green Chain Shop, remembered by his friends in the Black Country Society. I think that's really nice, I really do, remembering someone who worked so hard in his life. And you think about, so there's a lot of these all around the Black Country, tucked away in little streets and so on. And they're tucked away, and, you know, nobody really noticed them. They just assumed it was just a workshop, and it was just everyday life. And if you look today, people notice them more, don't they? Because there's less and less of them. And when you see this one, the only one still left in its original position, in Europe. I mean, Europe's a big place, and this is the only one. What can say that? But of course, chain making, it's a very hard game, isn't it? And a lot of it probably is done by machine nowadays, but back then it was all done by hand. And if you look at these houses, obviously people really live here. People stay here. I mean, look at that one. You would be forgiven that you was in somewhere like Yorkshire or somewhere like, I don't know, down south. I mean, if you go down to Dorset, you see a lot of these cottages, and they're a bit of a rarity to see them in that position nowadays, right next to the old chain shop, eh? It's mind-blowing as well. I mean, could you imagine living in a cottage around here, especially that one there? I mean, you know, you look at the deeds. Would you like to buy a house like that and look at the deeds and you think, wow, you know, who lived here? How many lived here? And, you know, who were they? It's got to be interesting. And if you look at that one, it's actually got the old pins in the wall, so it is being preserved. And of course, when they're preserved like that, they're never in danger, are they, of being changed much or anything like that, so it is nice that they keep them as there was and as they should be. Take a little walk around Mushroom Green now. It's not a massive place, but it's just so well kept. It's unreal. I mean, it really is. You know, well done to the people who keep this as it should be. Some more beautiful cottages there, quite tall ones those, so obviously they have seen a lot of days, and there's a lot of miners' cottages around these parts as well, which obviously a lot of them have been done up, a lot of them have been kept the same actually, but some of them have been done up a bit more modern, but most of them kept the same, which is always nice, isn't it, to keep that history and look of a building. You're just going to head down this way and just see where the road and the day takes us. What a day, you know, it's such a lovely day and it's perfect for a stroll around here, and the pathways lead around and in between all the cottages and little houses. There's not many modern buildings around here. And just over to the right is Saltwells Nature Reserve, which we've been to, and I would like to go there again. That was part of a lot of industry as well, of course. A few more cottages here, and they're leading on to the Saltwells Local Nature Reserve, and it's just over there to the left, and quite a beautiful place, Saltwells. Now walking further into the woods, and I'm just going to take a little view of what it actually looks like from Mushroom Green in Saltwells Nature Reserve. It makes you think, doesn't it, over time, that so much has changed, especially in this area, and it's hard sometimes to find remnants of what those places actually used to be, you know, and when they preserve them, it's always good, because you can tell where you are. Now down there is what they call the Black Brook. Now the Black Brook is what it says it is. It's not got pollution in, I wouldn't think. I'm not quite sure. It's more like a river than anything, but you can see it just flowing just lightly down there. You see a view there of someone's living quarters, and obviously I like to stick to the paths when I go anywhere, because most areas understand what you're doing, you know, you're just sort of looking round and whatever, but you're always best to be respectful. That's what I like to do, really, which is always nice. That's another view of the Black Brook itself, and it actually flows, as you can see there. You can see those broken down trees. It's actually flowing underneath the trees, so, and it's actually going in a funny direction. It's going from the left up and down and then back to the left and up again. It's a very strange way for water to run. It does make you think when you look at sections like you see down there, what are sort of made out, and this time of the year when all the trees are starting to go a bit bare, you can sort of see the shape of the ground, like it looks like it's been dug out and the earth's been moved over time, and that is probably because of the mining that was done around here, the coal and salt mining, as in the name Saltwells. And looking to the bottom, those are the sections. This would have been probably as high as this pathway, but nowadays it's sectioned out, probably because of the mining. You know, if you look at the way they used to do it, it was back-breaking work, because obviously they didn't have anything like they used to have today. And they've got all sorts today, haven't they, to dig things out. So it is really quite beautiful the way it flows, and you can tell why they call it the Black Brook, because it does look black, doesn't it? But it doesn't look black with pollution. Maybe it has, I don't know, but you know, maybe it's just the ground it's flowing through, who knows. Yeah, look at that old gate. Obviously it's got a catch on, you could walk up there, but it might be private property, who knows. I'm not quite sure, to be fair. Might not be open to the public. Of course it might just be someone's back gate. I imagine it probably is. I would actually imagine, if you look at the windows of some of these cottages, a lot of them are still original. So if you think, if they're still original, maybe they can't change them, or perhaps they like the look of the cottage with the original windows in. One way or another though, they do look just as nice with modern windows as well. Well, I was just talking to a gentleman who said he has lived round these parts, Mushroom Green, for over 25 years. And he was saying that the chain making shop is actually run by the Black Country Living Museum on the Tipton Road. So I actually knew, obviously, that there was chain making there and it went on there, but I honestly didn't know it was run by the Black Country Living Museum and they come there to do all the demonstrations, because of course on the Black Country Living Museum they do chain making anyway. So that's yeah, he was a nice gentleman. He was very informative, and it was really nice that he told me all that. So it's always nice, isn't it, you know, when you meet a local wherever you go and they tell you about the place, because you're always not going to know it's right, aren't you, if they live there and they've lived there over 25 years. So thank you to that gentleman. Now, by all accounts, those cottages are old miners' cottages. I thought there was, and the gentleman who I spoke to earlier on was telling me, and he says most of them are old miners' cottages. So when they was doing miners here, they would just live in those cottages, and they were just obviously probably built for those purposes, for those miners to live in. I suppose back in the day, when you think miners were going to work, the actual skyline would look a lot different. The shape of the cottages and the houses around here would probably still look the same, but the air would probably be black with very heavy industry and smoke. So yeah, that's another thing to take into account, isn't it, when you actually come to these places and remember them the way they was. And of course, as I mentioned, not a lot seems to have changed here at Mushroom Green. And that's going to do it for today on CJC Adventures from Mushroom Green in the Netherton area of Dudley in the wonderful Black Country. It's been great coming round here, and it feels like you're going back in time. It really has. And it's definitely a place I'd recommend just for a walk, or just to see what things should look like or did look like in the past. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe. Click on the subscribe icon, then the bell, and be notified when each video is uploaded. And please share the video. And until next time, look after yourselves and each other. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.